Yo, what's up, everyone? Back to cover this 15-game Tuesday slate. Once again, you guys crushed it with the likes on yesterday's video, and the Rays stack ended up getting there late. I also was high on Eichhoff early on in the day, but then I got off of him later in the day with the 6 lefties Diamondbacks rolled out and with the rain concern. So I tweeted out the updated picks to go with Waka instead of Eichhoff and Bellinger instead of Harper. Just kind of avoided all the rain games. So hopefully you saw that. On the website, I updated that like an hour before, so hopefully I also announced it in Slack for the MLB members. And you can follow me on Twitter at the DUS Process because I do post these baseball videos the night before, and so things will change with the weather and if depending on the research that I do. So if you want the updated picks, you can follow me on Twitter. And I'm also giving away a free NFL season pass. So all you have to do is retweet this tweet and follow me. And this was the best highlight win of last season. Came right before Christmas. Went with a Jets-Packers stack, and my best win of NFL so far. So looking to continue to build off that this season. So we got a 15-game baseball slate. If you could drop a like and subscribe once again, I appreciate that. Lots of good pitching options today. I think I'm going to go with James Paxton as my first guy at 10-1. So his price tag is taking a $1,200 hit from his last start. He wasn't good. Seems like every time a pitcher has a bad start, DraftKings just lowers his price tag a ton. And he looks like he's finally going to be able to throw probably at least 90 to 100 pitches. His first couple starts back from the injured list, they only let him throw in the 60s. But he threw 83 last start. I think he can push it up to at least 90 to 100. It's a really good matchup against the Mets. There are a lot of strikeouts in this lineup, and Paxton is just really good. So if you look at the Mets lineup here, they only have a 3.7 total. He's heavily favored here. They're going to have at least a couple lefties with McNeil, Dominic Smith, Conforto, and the bottom half has a ton of strikeouts with Frazier, Echeverria, Rosario, and Carlos Gonzalez. And James Paxton has been lights out at home this season, which is a great sign. So this season, Paxton is just has a .34 ERA at home in 26 innings pitched. .34 ERA on the road is where he's gotten in trouble. He's given up no home runs at home, 37 Ks, just a 157 slugging given up. He strikes out both sides at an insane clip, 37% K rate to lefties, 32% to righties. And I just feel like it's a great spot for Paxton, so I'm going to go with him as my SP1. And I'm going to pair him with a very cheap pitcher in Dakota Hudson, who's only $6,200. Extremely cheap. He's been pretty good as of late. The first couple starts in this season, he gave up 8 bombs in his first 5 starts. But since then, he's only given up 1 home run since April 21st. He is a top 5 prospect in the Cardinals organization and is starting to put together some quality starts as of late. So he's been pretty consistent, getting you at least double digits. In this matchup, I think he can push to like 20 at least. He's not a great strikeout pitcher, but I love the spot that he's going to be facing a ton of righties. And he's going to face a ton of righties, which is what he has a lot of success against. Miami only has 2 projected lefties in the lineup with Curtis Granderson and JT Riddle, so it should get 7 righties. And he's really, really good against righties. I'll show you the numbers for Hudson. And as of late, he's just been good after he got off to a kind of a rough start. So I don't mind going with him at all. I think he can have a line similar to Waka, and at 6,200, I'll definitely take it pitching in Miami. So righties are just hitting .217 against him this season with a .271 slugging and a .234 WOBA, which is great. And that's not even a super small sample size. It's 141 batters faced. Since in March and April, hitters were really teeing off against him. But since then, he's really cooled off. He's really been hot. So he started off March and April with a 5.63 ERA. May, he just had a 2.8 ERA, and his one start in June, one start in June, he put up a 1.42 ERA. So he's getting better as the season goes on. So I think he's a great play here at 6,200. So with going with those 2 pitchers leaves you with plenty to spend on your hitters. If you're looking for stacks today, I love the Twins against Mike Leake. I know Leake had a great start last game out against the Astros of all teams, but the Astros just aren't the same team. Leake gives up a ton of home runs. He also doesn't strike that many out. And the Twins are the best team in the league against right-handed pitching. So Leake has given up 18 home runs in just 81 innings, and he's only given up 56 strikeouts during that stretch. I think going with the twin stack is a really good play. I also do like the national stack quite a bit here against Banuelos. So against a lefty here, the Nationals should be able to do some damage against him, and then obviously you can look at Coors. So those are a couple teams I want to focus on. There's also a couple of really cheap options that I think you can use as one-offs. If you want some value, I got a value play for you. That's Eric Hosmer at $3,800. I think some of the Padres make sense. They're very cheap, especially Hosmer's only $3,800. The matchup is really good against Beatty. It's not a great ballpark to hit in, but Beatty is not very good. Hosmer has been pretty good this season. He's been hitting for more power with 10 bombs already. He's only $3,800. Garcia's only $36, and Machado is dirt cheap at $3,600. So Machado's been in a slump, but $3,600 is really cheap for a guy like Machado. Hosmer's been pretty good this season through 281, 10 bombs. He's been really good against righties, and Tyler Beatty has gotten destroyed against lefties. So I feel like Hosmer's in for a big game here. So to show you guys the numbers for Tyler Beatty this season, they are not very good, appealing at all against lefties. Lefties are crushing him. 379 average, 793 slugging percentage. He's given up 3 bombs. I feel like Hosmer can have some good success here. The xFIP is 6.16. So even though righties haven't hit the ball well against him that well, I mean, he still has given up a 6.16 xFIP. So I like Machado as well at a very cheap price tag. And Hosmer has been pretty good against right-handed pitching this season, much better than his numbers against lefties, as you would expect. So he has a 292 average to righties, 10 bombs. All of his home runs have come against righties. Like a 188 ISO, 479 slugging percentage. I feel like he's in it for a decent spot here against Tyler Beatty, and I think the Padres are going to be pretty sneaky stack. Next up at second base, speaking of the Nationals, I like Brian Dozier. $4,000 for Dozier is not a big deal at all. With the way he's been swinging the bat, whenever he's facing a lefty is when I only have interest in Dozier, and it makes sense given his numbers against lefties. He's been hitting the ball really hard as of late, really just a bunch of multi-hit games for him. It's a really good spot here against Banuelos, a lefty that struggles a lot against righty power, and Brian Dozier's just been crushing lefties this season and for his career. He has a 354 average, given up to a 354 average against lefties with 4 home runs and just 48 at-bats, which gives him a very, very impressive 354 ISO and a 708 slugging percentage. At $4,000, I like Brian Dozier quite a bit here. He's projected to bat 7th, but lately against lefties, he's been in the 6th hole, so I don't think 6 or 7 is not too big of a difference, but if he's in 6th, that's a pretty good spot. So I like Dozier quite a bit. Next up, at third base, I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado. Whenever Arenado's facing a lefty, I'm going to have a ton of interest in him. As you can see, he's very good at home. He's not good on the road. The Rockies just played 2 series on the road in Chicago and in New York, and Arenado didn't really have any great games during those series. But now that he's going back into Colorado is where I'm going to have a lot of interest in Arenado here. You have 2 really good third basemen priced up. You have Arenado and you have Rendon. I think both are great plays. I think Rendon being a little cheaper than Arenado is going to be better for GPPs because I expect him to be a lot lower owned. But Arenado for cash, I think, is the play. 353 average to lefties, 7 home runs and just 68 at-bats, which is really crazy. 397 ISO, 750 slugging percentage. Has like a 10.5% walk rate. I love the spot here for Nolan Arenado. And at home, he's batting 400. So really, really great stuff here for Arenado. Great numbers at home. It's a decent matchup here against Quintana. And this season, Quintana has been getting hit pretty hard against righties. He's always struggled against righties for his career, and this season it's not much of a difference. Righties have been much better against him than lefties. All 8 home runs have come against righties. They're slugging 427, hitting 264, like a 4.35 xFIP, striking righties out a lot less. I like the spot for some of the righties on the Rockies, especially Arenado. And And last but not least, I like the Twins quite a bit, and I like Marwin Gonzalez. Just really, really cheap for Marwin at 3,700. He's been hitting the ball really well as of late. He's very cheap. Like all the Twins, most of the Twins are priced up. You get some great value in like Gonzalez, and like Shoop is also pretty cheap. I don't mind paying up for Rosario or Cruz as well if you go cheap with your SP2 and Hudson. But I like Marwin. He's projected about like 5th or 6th. He has power. He's been flashing his power as of late and just been getting a lot of hits. So at 3,700 shouldn't take much for him to make value. He also has good numbers against Leak. So as always, I'm just going to run through the other picks. But if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed these 6 players, you can drop a like. I appreciate that. So here, the Subway Series, Mets and Yankees. Interest in some of the Yankees, no interest in the Mets. I think you can go with Voit. Gleyber Torres at 41, I like him. LeMahieu's really good against lefties. And in the outfield, I just have interest in Hicks and maybe Frazier. Here, I think I wouldn't mind looking at either pitcher in this game. I think Means is going to be sneaky, but I don't mind going with Thornton as well against a pretty righty-heavy Orioles team, and he's been really good against righties, has Thornton. So I don't really have any interest in any of the Oriole bats. I mean, they're righties. Whenever they're facing a lefty, I have interest in Nunez and Alberto and Mancini, but against righties, there's nobody that sticks out. And same thing on the Blue Jays. Their offense is just terrible. I'm not going to be picking on them. I'm not going to be stacking them on a 15-game slate. The Phillies, I have a little of interest in them. They're pretty cheap. Guys like Hoskins is 4,100, Hernandez 36, Kingree's 38. Like I think you can go with a Philly stack, especially Harper's really cheap at 4,200. Like that's a really bad price for Harper, a really cheap price. So I don't mind going with a Philly stack against Duplanter. No interest in the Diamondbacks against Arrieta. Here, Red Sox taking on the Rangers. The Rangers, I don't really have any interest in them against a lefty. And the Dodgers are facing Guardo, who just gives up a lot of, just pitches to contact, mainly. Doesn't get any swinging strikes. They're kind of priced up. If there's anybody that's cheap, like Betts, I don't mind him. Betts and JD, if he's in the lineup. But I think it's hard to get up to like 5,100 for Devers or 5,000 for Bogarts. So those are the two I would look at on the Red Sox. Here, I don't have any interest really in this game on the A's side. The A's are taking on Stanek, and then they're going to be facing one of the bullpen pieces. I think you can look at some of the Rays against Fires, who does give up fly balls a lot, and this Rays team does have power, so I don't mind going with Choi. Once again, came through with a bomb yesterday. He's only 4,000. I don't mind Tim. I don't mind Diaz at 41. I like Adames. And then Pham is also cheap at 43, so I like Pham quite a bit. And Garcia. Cincinnati and Cleveland. We have Bauer and Castillo, 2 great pitchers. Just pass on the offenses. Here, Cardinals. Not going to be playing really anybody in this ballpark. I like Hudson, talked about him, not going to be playing any Marlins against him. Archer, I think it makes sense for GPPs. If you want to stack against Archer, I would look at if there's anybody that sticks out, like Markakis at 35. I think he's a decent play. Austin Riley's under 5,000, so I think he makes sense at 4,800. And, yeah, those are the 2 pieces, and maybe Freeman. Here on the Pirates against Foltz, he's been giving up a ton of bombs this season, so I don't mind going with Polanco or Marte at 48. Brian Reynolds is only 4,300. He's been swinging a hot bat, so I like Reynolds. And that's kind of it. And maybe Josh Bell if you want to pay up at first base. On the Nationals, I have interest in the righties, so Howie Kendrick, even though he's expensive. Brian Dozier, I like him quite a bit. Rendon, if you don't want to if you want to go sneaky instead of Arenado, you can play Rendon. Turner's really good against lefties. And in the outfield, nobody I would play. The Twins, I have a lot of interest in them. Crone, Marwin, Shoop, Sano, just all the Twins I like. Especially Rosario. Rosario and Gonzalez, one of my favorites. Same thing with Kepler. So I think you can go with a full-on Twin stack as long as the weather holds up. Once again, I'm going to pass on the offenses here with Peralta and Peacock going at it. On the Royals are taking on Turnbull, who's pretty good. I don't mind playing Turnbull if you want like a cheaper SP2. He does have a lot of strikeout upside, and nobody on this team, except for Colbert, really sticks out as a value play at 36. I like him, and maybe Alex Gordon at 44 and Soler at 43 are the three I would play. And on the Tigers, I think if there's anybody like Castellanos at 4,000, I think he makes sense. I like Castellanos, and that's pretty much it. Castellanos and Goodrum, the two players I would play against the Royals. They also have a terrible bullpen, and they're going to be facing Junis. The Rockies here, obviously, we want to target the righties. So Arenado, Story. If first baseman Mark Reynolds is in the lineup, he makes sense. And Desmond at 4,100. Here, the Cubs are getting their revenge spot here against a pitcher, Lampert, who shut them down in his first start. They're a little priced up, but I don't mind getting to, like, if you can pay down a pitching and getting to a Cub stack, that makes sense. Especially Cargo's cheap at 36. Talked about the Padres. I have a decent amount of interest in them. They're pretty cheap, so I like Hosmer. Hosmer, Garcia, Machado, and Franmil Reyes stick out. No interest in the Giants. And here, the last game, Dodgers and Angels. We have Pena and Maeda. Not going to be targeting against Maeda. And against Pena, I guess you could look at some of the lefties if anybody's cheap. Like, I don't mind going with Turner, who's even though he's a righty at 4,000, he's been swinging the pretty hot bat, and he's been pretty good. He's been better against righties and lefties this season. I will still have some interest in Seager and maybe Verdugo if you want a cheap bat. But that's it for this slate. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. You can drop a like if you did. You can visit the website, links in description, and go